Well, hello, humans. Welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn, and I'm going to read to you Frankenstein, Chapter 18, Part 2. Tremendous. He's just so depressed. Depression, sad, not happy. From Derby, still journeying northward, we passed 2 months in Cumberland and Westmoreland. It's land more west. It's called Westmoreland. One word. I could now almost fancy myself among the Swiss mountains. The little patches of snow which yet lingered on the northern side of the mountains, the lakes, the dashes of the rocky streams were all familiar and dear sight. Dear sight to me. Here also we made some acquaintances who almost contrived to cheat me into happiness. Ha ha! You almost got me. The delight of Clairvaux was proportionately greater than mine. His mind expanded in the company of men of talent, and he found in his own nature greater capacities and resources than he could have imagined himself to have possessed, while he associated with his inferiors. I could pass my life here, said he to me, and among these mountains I should scarcely regret Switzerland and the Rhine. But he found that a traveler's life is one that includes much pain amid his enjoyments. His feelings are forever on the stretch, and when he begins to sink into repose, he finds himself obliged to quit that on which he rests in pleasure for something new, which again engages his attention, and which also he forsakes for other novelties. We had scarcely visited the various lakes of Cumberland and the Westmoreland, and conceived an affection for some of the inhabitants, when the period of our appointment with our Scotch friend approached, and we left them to travel on. For my own part, I was not sorry. I had now neglected my promise for some time, and I feared the effects of the demon's disappointment. He might remain in Switzerland and wreak his vengeance on my relatives. This idea pursued me. It pursued me and tormented me at every moment from which I might otherwise have snatched repose and peace. I waited for my letters with feverish impatience. If they were delayed, I was miserable and overcome by 1,000 fears. And when they arrived, and I saw the superscription of Elizabeth or my father, I hardly dared to read and ascertain myself. What the fuck? And ascertain my fate. Sometimes I thought that the fiend followed me and might expedite my remissness by murdering my companion. When these thoughts possessed me, I would not quit Henry for a moment, but followed him as his shadow to protect him from a fancied rage of his destroyer. I felt as if I had committed some great crime, the consciousness of which haunted me. I was guiltless, but I had indeed drawn a horrible curse upon my head, as mortal as that of crime. I visited Edinburgh with languid eyes and mind, and yet that city might have interested the most unfortunate being. Clairvaux did not like it so well as Oxford, for the antiquity of the latter city was more pleasing to him. But the beauty and regularity of the new town of Edinburgh, its romantic castles and its environs, the most delightful in the world, Arthur's Seat, St. Bernard's Well, and the Pentlands Hills, compensated him for the change and filled him with cheerfulness and admiration. He's so fucking happy. but I was impatient to arrive at the termination of my journey. He wants to get it over with. We left Edinburgh in a week, passed through Cupar, St. Andrews, and along the banks of Tay to Perth, where our friends expected us. But I was in no mood to laugh and talk with strangers, or enter into the feelings or plans with the good humor expected from a guest, and accordingly I told Clairvaux that I wished to make the tour of Scotland alone. "Do you," said I, "enjoy yourself, and let this be our rendezvous?" I don't know this fucking word. "Do you," I said, "enjoy yourself? Do you? Do you?" I don't think this is a question. Blah, 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 blah. Not a question. Do you? So it's like you. So do you enjoy yourself, and let this be our rendezvous. I might be absent a month or two, but do not interfere with my motions. I entreat you, leave me to peace and solitude for a short time, and when I return, I hope it will be with a lighter heart, more congenial to your own temper. So he's like, dude, please just give me 2 months. I can't say why. Probably because I haven't, been alone. We've been side by side. A man has needs, right? Give me 2 months, man. Let me get it out of my system. Alone. Henry wished to dissuade me, but seeing he bent on this plan, ceased to remonstrate. He entreated me to write often. This is him now. "I had rather to be with you," he said, "in your solitary rambles than with these Scotch people, whom I do not know. Hasten then, my dear friend, to return, that I may again feel myself somewhat at home, which I cannot do in your absence." Dude, this guy is good. He's a good friend. This Henry. He's like, dude, I'd rather hang out with you than these strange assholes. I don't know what the fuck's going on with you, but I can't have a good time without you. You're my best bro. Hurry back. Even though you won't tell me anything, clearly, friendships, what do they mean to you, Victor? What does life mean to you, Victor? Having parted from my friend, I determined to visit some remote spot of Scotland and finish my work in solitude. I did not doubt, but that monster followed me. I did not doubt, but that monster, but that monster followed me, and would discover himself to me when I should have finished, that he might receive his companion. With this resolution, I traversed the northern highlands and fixed on one of the remotest Orkneys as the scene of my labors. It was a place fitted for such a work, but hardly more than a rock, whose high sides were continually beaten up by the waves. The soil was barren, scarcely affording pasture for a few miserable cows, and oatmeal for its inhabitants, which consisted of 5 persons, whose gaunt and scraggy limbs gave token of their miserable fare. Vegetables and bread, when they indulged in such luxuries, and even fresh water, were to be procured from the mainland, which was about 5 miles distant. On the whole island there were but 3 miserable huts, and one of these was vacant when I arrived. This I hired. It contained but 2 rooms, and this exhibited all the squalidness of the most miserable penury. The thatch had fallen in. The walls were unplastered, and the door was off its hinges. I ordered it to be repaired, bought some furniture, and took possession. An incident which would doubtless have occasioned some surprise had not all the senses of the cottagers but benumbed by want and squalid poverty. As it was, I lived ungazed at the unmolested, hardly thanked for the I like books because they got the words. I just can't read sometimes. Let's see if I can get this. As it was, I lived ungazed at, and unmolested, hardly thanked for the pittance of food and clothes which I gave. So much does suffering blunt even the coarsest sensations of men. In this retreat I devoted the morning to labor, but in the evening, when the weather permitted, I walked on the stony beach of the sea to listen to the waves as they roared and dashed at my feet. It was a It was a monotonous. What a monotonous word. No, that's not really monotonous. Is not the definition of the word. Monotonous. It was a monotonous yet ever-changing scene. The thought of Switzerland, it was far different from this desolate and appalling landscape. Its hills are covered with vines, and its cottages are scattered thickly in the plains. Its fair lakes reflect a blue and gentle sky, and when troubled by the winds, their tumult is but as the play of a lively infant, when compared to the roarings of the giant ocean. In this matter, I distribute my occupations when I first arrived, but as I proceeded in my labor, it became every day more horrible and irksome to me. Sometimes I could not prevail on myself to enter my laboratory for several days, and at other times I toiled day and night in order to complete my work. It was indeed a filthy process in which I was engaged. During my first experiment, a kind of enthusiastic frenzy had blinded me to the horror of my employment. My mind was internally fixed on the sequel of my labor, and my eyes were shut to the horror of my proceedings. But now I went to it in cold blood, and my heart often sickened at the work of my hands. Thus situated, employed in the most detestable. Let me just get a little closer to the camera because maybe that'll work, Employed in the most detestable occupations, immersed in a solitude where nothing could for an instant call my attention. From the actual scene in which I was engaged, my spirits became unequal. I grew restless and nervous, and every moment I feared to meet my persecutor, Duder. Sometimes I sat with my eyes fixed on the ground, fearing to raise them, lest they should encounter the object which I so much dreaded to behold. I feared to wander from the sight of my fellow creatures, lest when alone I should come to claim his companion. In the meantime, I worked on, and my labor was already considerably advanced. I looked towards its completion with a tremulous and eager hope, which I dared not trust myself to question, but which was intermixed with obscure foreboding of the evil that made my heart sicken in my bosom. Wow. That was chapter 18. Not gonna lie, I think he's almost got it. I don't know where he has, if he started, if he has dead body parts, where he got them, being as that you are in the middle of nowhere with gauntly weird people. And if one of them died, it would be rather weird. I don't think the dude wants that. So if you would like to have me read some more, please check out some more of my videos. Give me a thumbs up, like it, subscribe. Write some comments down below. Tell me what you think. Give me your opinion. And I promise we'll be friends, because we already are friends. Friend. You're my friend. You are my friend. You're my friend. Splendid.